This is an open letter for Senator Mike Lee. Hello, sir. How are you? Hope everything is fine and everybody doing well. Salute. I was going through Twitter and I came across, first I saw a video in which somebody had posted, first of all, bravo, Mr. Let's not forget the bravo, Mr. Mike Lee, you're a senator. So on Twitter, somebody had posted a video of Mr. Ben Itar, Israeli, one of few Sephardic Jewish people in the cabinet, and one of the crazier ones, because Sephardic people are Middle Easterners. They make up 10% of the population of Israel, but they're Middle Easterners. They're more or less brown, and or from brown people, so they are very hot-blooded. They're very emotional. So Mr. Ben Itar is apparently one of the more emotional members of the cabinet in Israel, and the video was about the gentleman being welcomed in Miami and in Mar-a-Lago, and everybody standing ovation for Mr. Ben Itar. And I saw the video and it makes sense, so I was just passing all over it. But I read that, started reading the one comment underneath it, which I thought, that the author of the video, whoever has published the video, has written, and it said the criminal aliens should be deported. I looked back to see who has said that, and I saw Mike Lee. That would be your Twitter, your account. So I'm like, no, that doesn't make sense. He can't say that. So I went back and forth on Twitter, as you do, and realized that oh no, you're the next Twitter. You have the next tweet in line, in which you are referring, as criminal alien, you're referring to all these South American which have got a lot of native blood in them. We don't want that many natives. We have kept some sample natives of our own. They live in reservation. We don't want any more natives. Why don't we have more white people? You just started a war in Europe, in Ukraine, I guess probably for the simple reason of just importing a lot of white people. I salute. Apparently that was one of the objectives. We want more, if you want more white people from Europe, yeah, that makes sense. If you start a war in Europe between Russia and Europeans, then you get a lot of white Russians and white Europeans running away from war and coming to America. If that's the objective, it's working very well. But unfortunately a lot of Europeans will die as well as the result of the war. But I guess, it's the peasants who are going to die, and that's tough luck. Not the 10% rulers. So here's the thing, sir. Once I realized that you are not referring to them, you're not referring to Mr. Ben Itar, you have the next tweet that you're referring to these, Nicaraguans and El Salvadorans and Hondurans and Panamans and Mexicans who have a lot more native blood in them. Your average Nicaraguan, apparently, not a lot of white people want to live in Nicaragua, so Nicaraguans have remained very much Indian, real native blood in them. And I guess you don't like that. You don't like them. You don't like, Okay, fine, but then you understand that you can't let loose, the intelligence departments all over the world and create all these messes for profits of very few corporations, and then you would be on the receiving end of a lot of their immigrants, their refugees, their asylum seekers, because once you blow their shit up, they don't want to stay. Who wants to stay in a crummy situation? But every time they put them together, they put their shit together, you get threatened. Every time any country has put their shit together to move forward, you get threatened and you bomb them. Libyans wanted to move forward, you get threatened, you bomb them. Iraqis got their act together with a dictator, wanted to move forward, you attack them, dismantle them. And Iranians now have got their shit together, for a fucking Middle Eastern country having a indigenous nuclear business is a achievement for them after a couple of hundred years later than white people. But it's an achievement for them. So that means they got their act together, they're moving, they got technology, this and that. You have come in and say, no, dismantle it, or I'm going to dismantle it for you. So you not only want to help the natives, if the natives do get their shit together, you feel threatened and you want to destroy their shit, dismantle it one way or the other. Sir, the problem from reading these tweets and mixing them up is that as white people, you don't identify with many. What I'm trying to say is, when you say criminal and alien, you put them together and individually, it's all based on who you identify with. Do you identify with this side or that side? In other words, if you are hungry as well, because of not fault of your own, let's say because of depression, you're hungry as well as your friend, as another guy. If the other guy does a bit of stealing, you will then, because you identify the other guy as a hungry person like yourself, so you don't see that person as criminal. You're just seeing that person trying to survive in an unfavorable condition. In unfavorable conditions, the guy is trying to survive, so you don't see that person as criminal. But if you're from a different position, either you're from a different race or you're from a different economic class, you cannot identify with a person who's stealing a loaf of bread to eat. You can't identify with that, so you consider that as a criminal. But the bank, who knew this guy is going to go to foreclosure, still lend him the money, let him pay for many years, and then pull the house from underneath him legally, based on the laws that you have erected, the rich people have erected. In that case, you don't find the bank as criminal, because you are rich yourself or want to be rich. Politicians want to be rich, and eventually by the end of their career in politics, they're all rich. What can I do if people want to give me money? I can't help it. I'm so charming that people want to give me money. What can I do? Can I stop them? No. Salute. They find me very charming, especially the bankers find me very charming. People with money find me very charming as a politician. Anyway, my point is this: the mix-up happened. The two different tweets, because the two different tweets were right next to each other, and clear comparison is that at its core An alien is a person you don't identify with, and unfortunately white people don't identify with many. That rest have somehow got along. Maybe their culture is a little better, and they somehow try to get along, or try to. Yes, there are many wars, but the idea, at least China has formed one big country to get along, and Taiwan is part of it. They want to get along, but it's just white people feel threatened easily. White people feel threatened by everybody. Not white people that I meet every day, no. The 10% upper echelon, rich white people who rule every society in the West, a lot of things threaten them. They feel they have to be in total control over everyone, so not to feel threatened. In other words, rich white people seem very insecure. The people who, choose the directions to go, they're very insecure. And the result of that insecurity is all these wars that you have had. We have to go attack Vietnam because to defend against communism? What the fuck? You got a border, and it's on the other side of the Pacific Ocean. What communism? What is that your business whether they want to be communist or they don't want to be communist? You go build your own country better. You go build your own country better. What is that your business whether one country over there wants to becomes communist and experiences communism, and then eventually they move out of it? These are all cycles. You have been capitalist for a long time, I'm afraid. If you think of it as a cycle, it may be the time to capitalism. Here's the thing, sir. Please, it comes from a place of very insecurity. Because you don't identify with a lot of people. So you go in the Middle East and you say a bunch of fucking brown people, and you say, well, you're brown, why don't you at least be Christian? So I can identify with you and not see you as a threat. You go to Africa and you say, I don't identify with your skin, your color, your customs, your religions. I don't identify with it, so I feel threatened because I'm a little insecure. I feel threatened by you people because I don't associate, and you're not even Christian, so I can't even identify with that. So I'm ready to shoot because I don't identify with you. That's how you raise soldiers. This is why the police departments are so, have a high, anybody who gets involved with the police ends up having a high mortality rate. Because the police don't identify with people, just like the soldiers you send overseas don't identify with the fucking Arabs and the fucking Vietnamese and the fucking Chinese. They don't identify, and you don't want them to identify, so they can kill them more easily, and not think twice about it. So in other words, you don't want to identify with them, you and friends and family, you don't want to identify with them, and you feel threatened by anybody who does identify with them. That's the whole thing about both these Arabs who identify with other Arabs back home, who are getting pulverized by your bombs in the hands of the Ashkenazi. They identify with them, so they protest, and you put a gun to their head, send them to dungeons, and put a gun to their head and ask them, why do you identify with those motherfuckers over there? Well, they're brown and they're probably both Muslim, or the Christians are having the same shitty time in Palestine as the Muslims are. And their only problem is both the Christian and the Muslim, they're Arabs. They're not Ashkenazi. So they don't get to live inside the gated community. They live by the door, and Ashkenazi go once in a while, hammer them over some flimsy excuse and expand the territories. This is exactly how the Europeans won North America. Every time the Redskins would attack and kill a few, they would declare that this was, you know, end of the world for us, and the white people went and killed hundreds of thousands. The same thing, same scenario. Well, the natives have the right to that land, and you can't say, oh, we have better weapons, and that's the only thing. You identify with very select group of people, and that's why this whole idea of Judeo-Christian has come together, putting these words together, because you want the Americans to start, the Christians to start identifying with the Ashkenazi who are doing a lot of killing. Once you identify with someone, you're willing to look the other way, and especially you're willing to, then they are no longer, once you identify with somebody, they're no longer alien. And once they're no longer alien, and there is self, you know, there is alien and then there is self. Once you identify with them and it's self, then you can't call them a criminal even if they do criminal acts. The ICC, I believe, has basically 8.5 billion population of the world, has come to a conclusion in the ICC, International Criminal Court, that yes, we think this government over there, whoever is running this shit show over there, are criminals. And you say, fuck you. I veto it. You're criminal for calling them criminal. Calling my buddies criminal. You, ICC, International Criminal Court, representative of 8.5 billion population on planet Earth, humans on planet Earth, International Criminal Courts have declared that these people are criminals in Israel who are killing a lot of natives. They've come from Europe and they're killing a lot of natives. But because it's a North American Judeo-Christian identity, and you have manipulated the Christians to somehow, the Baptists, the Christians, the evangelicals, to manipulated them to somehow identify with the Ashkenazi in West Asia, then whatever those people do automatically doesn't qualify as criminal. Because, you know, once you identify with someone, that means they're under the tent. They are you and you are them. So how can I be a criminal? Nobody sees themselves ever as a criminal, because you always have an excuse for yourself. Even when people do the most heinous acts, they say in jail everybody's innocent. And to an extent that's true. If the society hadn't created the condition for that person to become a prisoner, that person would not have become a prisoner. You have a prisoner of war. If there is no war, you won't have a prisoner of war. The society has dictated that these two people have to go to war, and now this poor motherfucker becomes a prisoner of war. The prison is the result of the shortcoming of the social architecture. The result of your shortcoming in social architecture creates a lot of prisons and a lot of prisoners. And you solve that by applying capitalism to it and go private and try to justify the suffering of the prisoners in private prisons, because, you know, the more you can cut on cost, the better it is as in terms of profit. You try to justify that as that, yes, the prisoners should suffer because they did bad. Well, if here's the thing, Mr. Mike Lee, The failure of your citizens is your failure. And please don't give me that. Here's the thing, sir. Bees, I said this example in another video too. Bees live for 2 weeks, 1 week or 2 weeks. The bees, honeybee, they live for 2 weeks. The workers, apparently, they come pre-programmed. They know everything. Once they're born, they come out of the hole. They know everything that they need to know for this 2-week life. Humans come out almost clean slate. As you know, humans, you had children, humans, once they come out, they're clean slate. If there is a shortfall in social structure, in education, and this kid becomes a criminal, that's not his fault. He came out as a clean slate. She came out as a clean slate. You fucked up. Whoever was running the shit show fucked up. So having a lot of prisoners don't say that we are a very lawful country. It says we are a very careless country. We are very careless people. We don't take care of our kids. We don't take care of our educational system. So ignorance goes in, ignorance comes out, and ignorance ends up in prison. And that's good because we are making money there as well. And they deserve to work for $1 a day. So I'm sorry, your cultural system, your educational system, your entertainment system, they are all leading these poor motherfuckers to prison. Bad examples. Careless education. Clean slate, you're given clean slates, and a lot of these clean slates that they're giving you end up in a trash bin. I mean, what would you call that if you have a child and you give 100 white pages to the child to draw pictures on, and 20% of 20 pages end up in the trash bin? What is it? You know, what wouldn't you call the child careless? Why are you wasting the resources? You're supposed to do this kind of work on this paper and you didn't. This is a waste of resources. So as a government, you have a lot of casualties. The drug epidemic, this has social cause. It has social cause. The drug in Hollywood, it has social cause. Everywhere there is drug, there is a social cause. There is not really a there's nothing, no other reason can be, you know. You think you give free cocaine, everybody will take it? No. Those who have a cause will take free cocaine. Those who don't have a cause will not take it. The cause is some unmet need when they were children. Maybe, probably, certainly. The cause has been created, or currently they are under such a tremendous pressure, social expectations, and the lack of possibility of reaching those social expectations may result into a lot of drug use in order to not feel your pain, not being able to, you know, match the social expectations. And again, so who's criminal and who's an alien, it just depends on who you identify with. And unfortunately, you folks, white Europeans, you're very insecure. So you don't identify with a lot of people. And then, you know, a lot of races and you don't identify with other races and other religions. And that results into a lot of wars. Because you see yourself separate. And you like to see other people separate because, if I can divide them, I can rule them. Why do I want to rule them? Because I don't trust them. Why don't I trust them? Because I don't identify with them. Why don't I don't identify with them? Is because I'm insecure. Everything of them has to match everything of me in order for me to feel secure. I.e., they have to be white, Christian, straight. I guess we have to add straight to that. White, Christian, straight, this, that, the other, blonde, hopefully. That I can identify with. So that is me, me is that. So I feel secure around it. Therefore, I don't feel I have to be on top of them to make sure they don't have nuclear weapons, to make sure they don't have the ability to fight back. They have to be on their knees all the time. Israel is a prime example of insecurity. An insecure country built by insecure people who expect all their neighbors to always be on their knees for the Israelis to feel secure. I repeat again. Israel is, if insecurity was a country, it would first be Israel, then it would be England, then it would be Uncle Sam's land. But Israel, if insecurity was a country, it would be called Israel. They consistently believe that they should be beating down their neighbors and be on top. And not only be separate, but also be on top. So Israelis didn't feel secure living between Arabs. Although they were all doing fine, they could have continued doing fine, but the Jewish people, the Ashkenazi, not 90% Ashkenazi, 10% Sephardic. 90% Ashkenazi didn't feel secure living between Arabs. Didn't feel clean, i.e., because they didn't identify with. Why? Because they're insecure. Why? Because apparently Europeans are insecure, period. And all it took from Uncle Sam's manager with Victoria Nolan and Mrs. Clinton, all it took was to go start a really small flame in Ukraine, and these insecure white people in Europe and Russia have a major war with a small flame. You can only take a small flame to a major war if the people, the attendees, are very insecure. You can make a mountain out of a molehill only if the people who are listening are very insecure. If they're secure, you can talk all night and nobody will believe you have a mountain. Everybody will believe you got a molehill. If they're secure, if they're knowledgeable. This is why I'm saying that the problem with unfortunately a lot of problems that I see with white people in North America, the white ruling class in North America, is that they feel very insecure. So they are always ready to go to war on the other side of the planet. We beat Canada, we beat Mexico, we fuck these guys and fuck those guys, and we're gonna fuck the Greenlanders. Now we're gonna go fuck the Afghans. So, a bunch of tribal people are living ignorant and happy on top of some mountains in Central Asia, and some white people of European origin have decided that yes, we gotta go with the coalition of willing, and we gotta go conquer the mountaintops of Afghanistan. Salute to the Sane Society. This idea that we have to be kicking ass all the time, all the time comes from insecurity. And that comes from you don't identify with much. Mr. Mr. Mike Lee, with all due respect, sir, uh, President Trump recently, I'm trying to give you the solution for this problem that white people have, that they don't identify with much or many. You can solve this problem by traveling. If you travel a lot, you start identifying with more and more people. So in order to achieve that, that means having your citizens to travel more. Having your citizens to travel more, so everybody, Americans, they all become more secure. In order to feel more secure, you have to identify with more people in this world. And in order to do that, your people have to travel a lot, often. They have to travel often. And they have to be able to afford it. So, Mr. Trump recently tweeted that, hey, if anybody has any ideas, we want to give a prize to women once they give birth in North America. Great, great. I'm all for increasing white population. However, Mr. President Trump suggested that a $5,000 prize should be given. That's a suggestion. Let's give $5,000 to a woman for having a child. Well, I have a better idea, sir. Not only you want more white people, but you want to, raise a better society. When people are more informed, they identify with more people, they're smarter, they make smarter decisions, and as a society, that would be a better society. I'm sure you agree. To do that, 5,000 is not going to do it. We already know that you have to inject a lot of it's going to come in short order. There is going to be a time that you have to inject a lot of more liquidity into your societies. You can have a crash and inject that liquidity into the hedge funds and mutual funds and whatever other funds that rich people have been running carelessly. That's one way of injecting the liquidity. This is what happened the last time. The system failed and you injected a lot of liquidity at the top. That liquidity at the top doesn't solve the problem of income inequality. That liquidity at the top brings inflation without solving for income inequality. You already know that you're going to have the inflation somewhat, because you continuously have to inject the liquidity into you got a fiat money system in which everybody owes everybody interest, which nobody has a printer to print the interest, so they have to steal money from each other in order make profits from each other in order to keep their head above water and pay for the interest. And eventually many of them go bankrupt. My point is this, that you have to inject liquidity. The last time the liquidity was injected at the top. If you continue the way you're going, the system is going to crash again, and the solution, everybody, the rich people around the politicians will suggest, yes, inject more liquidity to the top, which will bring inflation but no relief in terms of income inequality. If you add this problem with the other solution that Mr. Trump has come up with, that is to increase the population, let's give $5,000 to every new mother, why don't you give an equivalent of a house, a 2-bedroom house in dollars to every new mother? To every new mother, give an equivalent money that would buy a 2-bedroom house. I.e., you become a mother, day one, back home from the hospital, you will have a 2-bedroom house, 1 bedroom for your child and 1 bedroom for you. Now, if you have a husband, great. If you don't have a husband, You will find a husband, and if you can't find a husband, you still have a house to raise that child without worrying about having to pay rent. In that way, believe me, in that house, that woman will find a man who can. I've seen many men who, if they can crash somewhere with a woman, even better. So that woman will eventually find a husband or a permanent boyfriend, because she's got the house. She has the house, and you just put on the deed that you give to the woman. You just state the government states that she cannot sell the house. She only has to use the house or lease it. She can't sell it. My point is this: when you give an equivalent of a house to a new mother, what does it do? First of all, that's the kind of incentive that it will convince many girls to have kids. Hey, I'm gonna get a house. I'm about this close to being homeless, and I can't live with my parents, and I have a boyfriend, and if I have a baby, I get a house. And that's not the and once they do have the baby, they're given a house, and at least they don't have to worry about rent. Now they just have to worry about income to eat and feed their baby. My point is this: that's the kind of money that, first of all, solves the problem for having more kids. Solves the problem for that. Solves the problem that the system will not crash to reach the point that you have to inject liquidity to the top, the banks and the funds. You will not allow to reach that, but you're getting to get the inflation, but this inflation at least is going to solve for the income inequality. Inflation, when you inject money to the bottom, single mother is literally ends up at the bottom of society, because she has to pay for two, has an income for one and has to pay for two. A single man at the worst is has to pay for it himself, and he can get by sleeping in the gutter. But a single woman with a child is the worst in terms of having to pay for two, and you also can't be homeless, because now it's not just you have responsibilities. My point is this: you inject money to the bottom, you prevent a crash, which fiat money, a usury fiat money system will eventually, if you don't inject money into it, it will eventually crash, because you're always short of money, because nobody's printing the interest. My point is this: you inject money to the bottom, bring up the living standard, create a kind of environment that is useful to raising a family, that is giving a house to a new mother. And on top of that, what happens is, after they have their own house, this mother and the child have their own house, the next child, they probably don't need a second house. They may want to take that money as a mother and child, or a mother and father and a couple of children. They take that money and they go vacation. Africa, Asia, Europe. In this way, you're encouraging your population to see more, so hopefully they identify with more, so they don't feel so insecure that they have to be on top all the time. You see where I'm going with this, sir? The idea is how I can stimulate my people to be more secure and not so, shooty. How you make your people less shooty, less criminal aliens should be hung from their feet. The way you make that is that people go and see these aliens in their own land through travel, because the government is giving them equivalent to a house, equivalent money to a 2-bedroom house every time the woman has a child. Not only they increase your population exponentially, not only that, you're sending your people, you're helping, you're financing the world travel of your peasants. You know how good life would be if all these peasants had a, well stamped passport all around the world. You know how much, how much it helps for society to feel more secure with itself, because they know, they have seen, they've seen the Nicaraguans don't have horns, and they have seen the Hondurans don't have a tail, and they have sat in their hut and had a lunch with them, and nothing happened. So they go back home, have another kid, feel secure, and have another kid. They travel, start identifying with very different people, aliens, feel more secure, go back home, feel more secure, have another kid. Don't you want this? Absolutely. It's unfortunate, sir. It's like the only difference between a Honduran guy who may or may not have criminal connections, and the guy who we already know has been involved in has encouraged a lot of killing of a whole lot of people, and you call the Honduran, who just because he doesn't speak English, has a brown skin, and at least they're Christian, but they got a brown skin and they're like 4 foot high. You don't identify with them, so they're alien. And you want to get rid of them, so you call them criminal, even if they're not criminal, or you call them an enemy, even if they're not enemy. The guy has a wife and couple of kids. I don't think, how many enemies do you know who go have a kid in their enemies in their enemy's country? You don't have family and kids or a business in an enemy country. What are you? This is not. Enemy alien, a criminal alien, an alien, and regular alien, and a criminal alien. Sir, you keep calling everybody alien. Please, I don't think you need that money. You don't have to have a kid to travel. Like I said, give equivalent of a 2-bedroom house to new mothers. You don't need that. You already have money. Please start traveling. There are very few aliens on this planet. I'm one of them, but the rest are human. It's like there are very few aliens on the planet. The rest are human, and they more or less, if you go and, if you go, I believe me, they will not eat you, they will not shoot you. They probably, you have a very good time with them. Please stop. If you start traveling, sir, you feel more secure, because feeling insecure comes from ignorance. You know more, you feel more secure, and then you start identifying with more humans, and then you just calm down. The thing is, as a politician, you're the one who's supposed to try to keep a calm, peaceful society. If you scream fire in the kitchen, there is really not a fire. There are some other human beings on earth who living back home was not so profitable for them, so they've decided to live in your yard. And again, because your corporations have robbed them clean, so they're just following the money. they're neither aliens nor criminal, because again, criminal depends on your perspective. When your police was not ready to provide adequate security in poor parts of Los Angeles, that's where I believe, I understand, I might be wrong, but that's where MS-13 was born. That's neighborhood kids trying to provide protection where the city didn't feel necessary to provide protection. So protection came locally. You see where I'm going with this? Again, your failures as a society, structural failures of the society, which you folks have designed. They're structural failures, but then through you're trying to say that the failure is not our fault, but those were bad seeds. As I said, sir, at the beginning, humans come to world clean slate. Humans come to the world clean slate. If the result of your culture, education, entertainment, if the result of all that is a lot of people in jail and a lot of people outside who are, their names are being hidden, like the Jeffrey Epstein list and Jeffrey Epstein list and this Hollywood guy's list and that Hollywood guy's list and this. These are the folks who, again, these are the shortcomings of society. These are all insecurities. Financial insecurity, cultural insecurity, scientific insecurity. These are all insecurities that come out as a result of ignorance. Why ignorance? Because of structural failure of your educational system. Oh, I'm sorry, sir. Please start traveling. You find very few bad people in this world. Or none at all. Where you see bad, it's a structural failure. When you see bad from humans, it's because their culture has failed them. Their education has failed them. That's why they're doing some bad shit. I mean, Israel educational system has failed them. This is the result. Your educational system has failed you because you're seeing that result, and the result which has a lot of human casualties, and you're giving a standing ovation. It's like, this is a total failure of educational system. What are your values? This is basically how it goes in short. I identify with very few people. They have to be white Christian, Judo-Christian. They have to be white Judo-Christian and speak English well as the mother tongue. That's who I identify with. That's where Mrs. Greeny's thing comes about, that yes, English is the state language and it's the Gulf of America, not Gulf of Mexico. Where does this come from? Insecurity. Why? Because you don't identify with Mexicans. Why? Because you haven't met many. Not in their own milieu, not in their own environment, not in their own setting, not on equal basis. Mr. Trump, said it very simply that he likes when every other race on this planet kisses his ass. It's like they all was standing in line to kiss my ass. That's a very, that's the insecurity, the kind of insecurity that a lot of upper echelon of white societies have. That they feel the only way they feel secure is everybody else, every other race is standing in line to kiss white people's ass. If that's not the case, we are going to smash them. Hulk smash. Salute. Sir, please travel. Please travel. And please consider giving equivalent money to a 2-bedroom house to every new mother. If they have 10 kids, imagine if a new family gets that. The woman has, just imagine, that's a thought experiment. The woman has a child and he gets a house. Soon after, there's a man who's willing to live with her and marry her because she has a house. At least she has a shelter. That's one of the advantages. So there are many other advantages, but could be one that could be very advantageous for the women to have a shelter. That again she cannot sell, or she has to use or lease. But imagine that equivalent money is given. Maybe the next money that comes for the next kid, maybe they buy another house and lease that one, and now both parents can spend more time with their kids. And make more babies. Isn't this what you want? That would be a source of passive income for a woman. If the money for the second baby, she buys a piece of property or a house that she can rent, then at that point she would have a passive income to help pay for the kids. Isn't that what you want? Then she has a third kid, and that money, by that time, I believe that the whole family will go to African vacation, South American vacation, and the money for the next kid, certainly. This is what you should be encouraging your people to do: more travel. And another advantage of more traveling is that the money that you print and give them, that money doesn't get spent in North America. That gets spent in Africa. So it's not going to bring an inflation. Salute.